But I couldn't help but pause and ask, whose future are we designing for and who gets left behind in the process? Because yes, the shift is exciting. According to the World Economic Forum, the most in-demand core skills for 2030 include some of the following: resilience, curiosity, and lifelong learning, leadership and social influence, technological literacy, emotional intelligence. Welcome to the Future Ready Leader podcast, where we explore the strategies, the mindsets, and the innovations that are shaping leaders like you for tomorrow. I'm Afsheen, Executive Leadership Advisor and CEO of the Phoenix Coaching Company, and I'm here to help you amplify your leadership impact, navigate change with confidence, and create lasting growth in your organization and in yourself. Each episode will dive into leadership insights, real-world experiences, and transformative ideas to help professionals like yourself unlock your full potential. So if you're ready to future-proof your leadership and inspire meaningful change, let's get started. Welcome back to the Future Ready Leader podcast, where we don't just follow the headlines, we challenge the narrative and reimagine leadership with nuance, with equity, and with clarity. I'm your host, Afsheen Ismail-Wey, and I'm the CEO of the Phoenix Coaching Company. And today we're diving into something that has stirred both inspiration and discomfort for me and for us here at the Phoenix Coaching Company. I'm talking about the now viral chart from the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs report that maps out the core skills for 2030 and beyond. At first glance, it's encouraging. Empathy, curiosity, flexibility, self-awareness, creativity. All of these skills are finally being treated as core and not just as soft skills. But I couldn't help but pause and ask, whose future are we designing for and who gets left behind in the process? Because yes, the shift is exciting. According to the World Economic Forum, the most in-demand core skills for 2030 include some of the following: resilience, curiosity, and lifelong learning, leadership and social influence, technological literacy, emotional intelligence. And these are not just job enhancers. We know that these are business critical. For example, Gallup reinforces it by showing that organizations with strong leadership in empathy and in engagement see 23% higher profitability. They see 18% higher productivity, and they even see lower attrition. So the case for these skills has been made time and again. They are finally in focus as core skills, and this is great news for the future of work. Clearly, it's leaning towards human-centered, high adaptability leadership. But here's the uneasy truth. When we zoom out, that same chart reveals another truth. Some skills, and thereby the people who have them, are going to become deprioritized. I might even more accurately say further deprioritized than they already are. So let's take, for example, the brilliant children in remote villages, those who, by the incident of fate, have no access to AI tools or cutting-edge learning environments. Those to whom skills like reading, writing, and mathematics are difficult enough to access. Those skills, which are now deemed out of focus, which means that we're leaving them even further behind in the future that's envisioned in that chart. That chart is also not one that honors the leadership of generations whose experience and skills are now deemed out of focus, such as teaching and mentoring. And while this same generation already faces rising ageism, even as these aging populations are actually growing in lower and middle income countries. And this chart and the future that it paints does not prioritize, unfortunately, equity, especially now, as organizations around the world backpedal on their DEI commitments. After all, in the same breath, we have heard Mark Zuckerberg casually claim more male leadership energy is needed. Those very skills that this chart uplifts around empathy and reflection and collaboration are the exact ones that the male energy has historically devalued, which is probably why it took so long for them to become core skills. Because this isn't just about which skills matter. In the end, it's about who has the power, who is shaping the narrative, and on the flip side, whose lived experience is getting diminished in the process. So here's my question. Are we designing a future that requires privilege to access? I know many of us are asking the question, how can we lead through this? Because the future is inevitable. And here are a few of my suggestions. First of all, interrogate the blueprint. Don't just accept the future, question it. What is missing? Who is excluded? And what assumptions are being made? If you have a voice, use it. And then build bridges and not moats. If resilience and adaptability are critical to everyone's future, then let's make sure they're not just developed exclusively for one special group of people. Let's do what we can to train, coach, and support across levels, ages, geographies, and identities in whichever space we play in. And finally, let's embed inclusion and equity into leadership development. We can't keep claiming to build cultures of tomorrow while we're relying on the same legacy providers and outdated and tried true approaches, as we like to call them. So if your leadership development still reflects yesterday's providers, their content, and their lived experiences, you're not preparing leaders for what's next. You're simply anchoring them in what's already obsolete. The future is moving at light speed. Your leadership development providers must evolve to reflect the full range of lived experiences, of identities, and skill sets that your leaders are bringing to the table today. Anything less is a step backwards. And that's what we're working on at the Phoenix Coaching Company. Through our innovations and our interventions, we are equipping organizations with coaching frameworks, immersive tools, and inclusive experiments to ensure that no one gets left behind in this shift. So here is my call to action. If you're a decision maker who chooses to develop your leaders, make a decision today to challenge who does that now. If you're still working with organizations that are not led by diverse leaders, their workshops are not led by diverse facilitators, and they do not have diversity and inclusion at their core, make a decision to change that. Do your part in creating the future that you want to be a part of. And if you were on the receiving end of leadership development experiences, question decision makers in your organization about who they are choosing to develop your leadership skills and what their suppliers' experiences are with inclusive leadership development, thought leadership. And if you're ready to work with a highly skilled, curious, diverse, and exciting organization that is challenging and courageously shaping the future of leadership development, reach out to the Phoenix Coaching Company. Until next time, stay bold, stay curious, keep rising.